here. I'm so excited that you're still here. And if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for being here. It just continues to grow as a channel, and I'm just grateful for that. But this year's gonna have some amazing content, and we're gonna start it off with this video. So basically, the concept of this video is I wanted to make a video for people who don't necessarily know everything about ASMR, right? So I think a lot of my viewers are longtime viewers, which is awesome. And you're probably familiar with some of these, but I think that ASMR as a category and as a genre is still continuing to grow every day. And so I wanted to make a video that people could go to, new and old viewers, just maybe a little bit educational, and so you guys don't feel left out when you see certain keywords on the internet about it, right? So I have like 20 or 25 ASMR slang terms or keywords that I'm gonna go through, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's relaxing. This video is going to be mainly whispered, and I'll do some maybe some screen tapping as well. Okay, so anyway, thank you for being here. First video of 2020. Let's do this. Okay, so we're just gonna go through this iPad and go through them. So the first word, ASMR. So the first word, ASMR. Okay. So ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, okay? And if you look it up, there is a lot of scientific analysis and research on it. And to sum it up, it's basically a tingling sensation that a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time starts in your scalp or the back of your head and travels down your spine into other limbs and body parts. I've also seen it called like a low-grade euphoria. But my answer when people ask is it's essentially like the feeling of when someone like draws on your back and you get kind of. I think the cool thing about ASMR is that it can be triggered by almost anything, and it's different for every person, which is why I think ASMR is so popular, because the experience can be different for everyone. Not everyone gets it, and some people get it, and when you do get it, it can be from a bunch of different things. So I just think it's a really cool thing. It's most commonly triggered by auditory or visual stimuli. So like, for instance, whispering I know is maybe the most common trigger, right? But then like visually it can be triggered as well. So anyway, that is ASMR, Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. Okay, next one, Tingles. Okay, so you know, that's also in my name, right? So I'm sure you see the word tingles a lot. Tingles is essentially another way of saying ASMR, right? Tingles is more of maybe a slang term used for the feeling that you get when you experience ASMR, right? So like, if you experience it and something happens and you feel it, you would go, oh, I just got tingles, right? As a slang term. So that's really all it is it's just a word to explain the physical feeling of experiencing that experience. Okay, next one is ThreeDo. Okay, so ThreeDo is definitely a used keyword in ASMR for sure. Technically, it is a brand of microphone, okay? Very common microphone that you'll see in ASMR, and it is the one with the ears, okay? But you'll see the ThreeDo there, right? And so that is technically the brand of this microphone. If you watch ASMR on Twitch, it's pretty much what everyone uses on Twitch, but it's also So 3DO is technically the brand of this microphone that has been very popularized by ASMR. And big shout outs to the people at 3DO. They're good people. Next is Yeti. Okay, so Yeti, once again, not necessarily the brand, but that is made by Blue Microphones. And the Yeti microphone is, I would say, the most commonly used microphone in ASMR, mainly because it's relatively affordable, right? So if you're just starting out, you save up and you can get a Yeti for, I've seen them as low as $100. I think they're normally like $170 or so, but relatively affordable for a content creator just starting out, right? And then it is actually what I'm using here, and it is a stereo microphone, meaning you can hear left to right, but it's not technically binaural, which I think we'll get into later. But yeah, Yeti is the model of, I would say, the most commonly used microphone for ASMR. And it looks like this. So this is I don't know what's in it. This is a Yeti microphone. Okay, made by Blue. Okay, and that's just, again, Yeti is the model of this Blue microphone. Okay, next is ear to ear. Okay, great. So ear to ear is a very common keyword that ASMR artists use in their titles, right? So they'll say like whispered ear to ear, whatever, right? So ear to ear, I'll do it on the Yeti. So ear to ear would be like, right now I'm in your right ear, and your right ear, right, and now I'm in your left ear, right ear, left ear. So you can see I'm going ear to ear, right? And then with a 3DO, like I showed earlier, it's even more of an immersive sound because it's binaural, going left to right. But that is what ear to ear means, is just talking, or it doesn't even have to be talking. It can be doing anything sound wise, left to right or right to left, or ear to ear, if that makes sense. So when you see ear to ear, that means that they're going to be doing something around your ears, going back and forth. Okay, so next is binaural. Okay, great. So this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Okay, so binaural. Is what the 3DO is. Okay, so essentially so in contrast, the Yeti is a stereo microphone, right? So it's recording and you can play it back left to right, but not necessarily above, in front, behind, that kind of thing. So like Spotify music or movies and stuff is normally mixed in stereo, so you could hear like, music over here, and if you wanted someone to walk up on the other side, you could mix that and make it sound like they're over there. Binaural, on the other hand, is basically an upgraded stereo, right? And it's recorded with specialized microphones to basically make your recording sound like you would hear it in real life, right? So binaural is essentially a recording that sounds like real life, right? So if someone's behind you or in front of you or to the side and they move to the side, you would hear them all the way instead of just left to right stereo, right? Binaural is a very common keyword and slang term for used in ASMR, so that's a good one to know. And also, I think it's good to know the difference between stereo and binaural, because they are two very, very different things, but I think both super effective in the world of ASMR. Next, we have trigger. Okay, so trigger in the world of ASMR is essentially a slang word for other things, right? So a trigger for me, I should start this by saying a trigger is essentially something that you would name that ASMR, right? So a trigger for me is actually tapping on a screen, right? So like this. Okay, so screen tapping, that's a trigger for me. That triggers my ASMR, okay? So you'll see a lot of videos that say like 10 new triggers or triggers to make you fall asleep. That's what they mean, is they're saying these are I'm doing things that are going to trigger your ASMR intentionally. But yeah, trigger, it's just saying here are things that are going to trigger your ASMR. Okay, next is unintelligible. Okay, so that's a really good one. So unintelligible, I actually I physically cannot do unintelligible. But there are not a million. There are, I'll say, hundreds of amazing ASMR artists out there that are really good at it. And essentially, unintelligible is you're talking, but you're not pronunciating very many things, if any. So they're talking in sentences like I am, but they are saying it without pronouncing the words, which can be a pretty common trigger for people. And normally they'll do it left to right or even binaural. But yeah, unintelligible is just, again, talking without pronouncing the words, essentially. Okay, so unintelligible. Next is personal attention. Personal attention. Personal attention is another very common term used in ASMR. I won't say it is strictly used in role plays, but it's very common in role plays, right? So if they're doing any kind of thing where it's two words that make sense, right? They're giving you, the viewer, personal attention, right? So they're either like, okay, let's touch your forehead here, right? Or, hey, how was your day? Right? Talking to you, just giving you personal attention. That is what that is. It pretty much speaks for itself, but I thought we would put this in here because it is a very common term used in ASMR, and if you're not familiar with that, you could be confused by it. So, personal attention is just when the creator is giving you personal attention in the video. Okay, next one is roleplay. Roleplay. Okay, so roleplay in the context of ASMR is essentially a video where we intentionally make an immersive experience for you, where we are essentially role-playing a role. Okay, so like for me, I've done a lot of like doctor videos where I am role-playing as a doctor to you, right? And so that is essentially what it is we are making up our own worlds, our own rules, our own scenes, essentially, to make it a little bit more realistic. Instead of me just talking to you, I'm acting as a character in a scene, right? So I think roleplay is very, very common. A lot of people do them, and me included. And it's just a way to make the ASMR experience a little more immersive and realistic, maybe. And it also, I think, lets you use your imagination a little bit more, which can also be a trigger for ASMR. So roleplay is making up a scene and playing a character for the audience. Okay, so that's roleplay. So next is mouth sounds. Mouth sounds. Okay, so mouth sounds is a very common trigger, actually, like we talked about earlier. Mouth sounds can be a lot of different things. It can be like, right, or it's pretty self-explanatory, right? It's making sounds with your mouth that isn't speaking, I would say. But very, very common. A lot of people can get very creative with it. I know that it can be taken a lot sounds with your mouth to try to trigger your ASMR, right? So, yeah, that's another one, like personal attention, that's very, very obvious and very self-explanatory. But in the context of ASMR, I thought that it should be on there just to explain the intention of the words. Okay, next is soft spoken. Okay, so right now what I'm doing is whispering, right? This is a whisper. Soft spoken is another way of talking in ASMR videos, and it's more like this, right? So it is a little bit higher, and it's essentially talking normally, just on a lower, softer tone and volume. I know soft spoken is definitely one of my favorites. I like whispering as well, but I like maybe going back and forth too. So you could go from soft spoken into a whisper like that, and then back into soft spoken. I personally like to do soft spoken when I do role plays, just because it's a little bit more realistic. Like if I'm doing a shoe store video, I think it's more realistic that I'm talking like this than like this, and in a store. Right? So, yeah, soft spoken is just a tone and a volume that people speak in, that can also be triggering someone's ASMR. Okay, next is SK. So, I don't know what in the last 6 months happened with SK. It became some weird trend that I didn't understand. But SK, to my knowledge, originated with one of the greatest of all time, Heather Feather. And I want to say years ago, she said in a video that I think her grandmother used to do this to her when she was trying to sleep or relax. And so then she started doing it. But to my knowledge, Heather was the first person to bring SK into ASMR. And SK is this, it's going so it's basically saying SK together. SK was a very, very common trigger in the last few years, and yeah, it's definitely up there for one of my biggest triggers as well, especially when it's very soft. Like that, it's delightful. So yeah, if you see that in titles, SK, just know at some point in the video they're gonna be going and thank you, Heather Feather, for bringing that into our worlds. Alright, let's see what the next one is. It is whispered. So this one should be also very self-explanatory, right? It is what I'm doing this whole video. So whispered is what I've been doing this whole time, right? It is just whispering. This one's very simple, but it is very commonly used in titles, in articles and stuff about ASMR. So it had to be in here, but very self-explanatory. It's just whispering. Alright, next one. Let's see, we got whispered. Next one is visual ASMR. Visual, okay. So visual is also pretty self-explanatory, but okay, so visual ASMR is also pretty self-explanatory, but it can be a lot of different things, right? It can be, for instance, with your hands. Visual ASMR can be stuff like this, where it's right. It can be like that. Okay, it can be visually trying to trigger it. It can also be different kind of lights. It can be a lot of personal attention stuff, right? So visually going up to you, with my hands touching your face, that kind of stuff. It can be brushes. It can be a lot of different things, but it's essentially a way to trigger your ASMR visually and not with audio. Next, we have soap carving. So again, very, very common. self-explanatory, but it's very trendy, especially on Instagram under the ASMR hashtag. But it's very, very common and very it's probably one of the more satisfying visual and honestly audio triggers that there is. I'm sure you've seen it. People will cut really, really thin slices and then cut them across and stuff like that. And soap is soft, so it looks really cool and you can cut through it. I am personally terrified to do it because I will for sure cut a finger off. But yeah, soap carving is just a very common, very popular trigger where they're cutting soap. Next one, we have mic brushing. Okay, so mic brushing is also very common, and it is where you'll take a brush like this, okay, a nice soft brush, and you'll brush the microphone like this. Right, and so it's a very common trigger. I see it a lot on ASMR on Twitch. But it's essentially, like it says, just brushing on the mic. And I think it's a lot of the scratching and the like, I don't really know how to explain it, I guess. But it sounds, with the right microphone, sounds like they're actually brushing over your ears. So it's a very effective trigger, I think, and very common. So I'm sure you'll see that quite frequently on ASMR channels. Okay, next one is anticipatory. So I'm gonna give another shout out to Heather Feather for this one. She has a video called Circle Time, which is probably my most listened to ASMR video of all time, where she's off camera, right? And she has a 3DO and she's walking around you, right? And so it won't really work here, but I will link that video in the description. But it's basically saying like, okay, I'm over here. And then all of a sudden, but I'm also right here. I'm here, over here. And now I'm over here. So it's basically, I think it's another layer of binaural talking, right? Where it's someone can be here and then they pause and don't make a sound and they're right here out of nowhere. It's anticipatory, and Heather is the best at it. So that is anticipatory, and I personally think that word is a trigger for me. Anticipatory. Okay, next we have face brushing. Okay, so face brushing is a form of personal attention. Okay, so just how we were brushing the mic, it's a visual trigger, right? So I'll go like this, and now I'm brushing your face, right? So hopefully it'll focus on, there we go. And now I'm brushing your face. So that's a very common one as well for personal attention, and in role plays. And it's just a nice visual trigger. Mic brushing. Face brushing. Alright, next we have Bob Ross. So Bob Ross isn't necessarily a trigger or a keyword in ASMR, but I think a lot of people would say that he is, I've seen him be called the grandfather of ASMR, right? Because his show, The Joys of Painting, is incredible, and it's completely unintentional ASMR, right? his voice is ASMR. His like the sounds, the way they mix the sounds of him painting and scraping and everything, it's an ASMR video every time. And so I think Bob Ross is largely connected to ASMR because it was a very popular show, and he became kind of a pop culture person. And people call him the godfather of ASMR. All right, next we have layered sounds. So layered sounds is when an ASMR artist will do multiple sounds and mix them when they're editing and layer them. So they could have, they could have screen tapping. I mean, technically, if I talk, so if I do this and talk, that's a layered sound. But a lot of people will do many layers, and it sounds really cool. And so it's essentially just the way that an ASMR artist will mix their sounds, and they can layer different triggers and sounds on top of each other. All right, next we have intentional. Okay, so intentional is, it's what the word is, intentional. It's things that we do on purpose, right? So like I was saying with Bob Ross, what he did in his videos was unintentional. He wasn't trying to induce your ASMR, but it still happened. Intentional is what I would say most ASMR artists are doing, right? We turn this camera on and set up our equipment and microphones intentionally. We are intentionally hitting record, and with our intention of triggering your ASMR, right? So intentional is, it's the opposite of Bob Ross, right? It's when we're really trying to induce your ASMR. Okay, next we have unintentional. So yeah, I pretty much just explained that. Like, that's Bob Ross. That's there's some really amazing videos on YouTube if you just look up unintentional ASMR where they're doing a job or something, and they're not trying to give you ASMR, but it still does. That's unintentional. Okay, next we have lo-fi. Okay, lo-fi is really cool. Okay, so lo-fi is a type of audio, and essentially it's a lower quality on purpose, if that makes sense. It is a sound recording type of aesthetic where you're trying to make the sound a little less high quality, and that can be a big trigger for a lot of people. I would say most commonly people will use like the iPhone headphones, right, with the little mic, or little mics that they'll find. But essentially what lo-fi is a lower quality sound and quality of audio on purpose. They're doing it on purpose. Friv is Frivy Fox, or Frivolous Fox ASMR, is a great example of lo-fi. Of course, she doesn't do it every video, but she makes amazing lo-fi ASMR videos, and it's again just lower quality audio on purpose because it can be very triggering for people to hear that kind of, there's maybe a little rasp or a little scratchy and just not as perfectly clear audio as normal. Those are all the keywords or slang terms that I have for today. Let me know in the comments below if you can think of any that I should make in the next one. And if you have any questions or anything, definitely leave it in the comments and I will get back to you. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe if you're new and if you liked it. I just thought that this would be a really cool video to, make it a little bit educational. And, I still don't think ASMR is a household name yet, right? It's certainly getting there. And it's absolutely grown in the last, 7 years. But it's still new to a lot of people. And so my hope is that these new people can come to this video and kind of learn about what they're seeing in ASMR titles, right? If they're like, you know, if they see a video that's like Dr. Roleplay, intentional ear-to-ear mouth sound, blah, 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 it can be kind of confusing, and especially to a new ASMR viewer, right? So I'm hoping this video can just be a reference for anyone wondering about what these keywords and slang terms are. So anyway, that's gonna do it. Thank you so much for being here. Again, if you're new here, thank you so much for being here. I hope you stick around. I have a lot of amazing things planned for 2020. And if you've been here before, thank you so much for being here again. Once again, thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs down if you didn't. Just do something, okay? I am very grateful that you were here. I will see you guys next time. Until next time,